definition of God. Now, often we hear the New Age thing is that we're all God, right? We're all God. But does anybody practically accept that? Like, you can, okay, maybe, all right, even with some word jugglery in your mind, you can accept, yes, I am God. Okay, whatever. You can somehow or rather, with your little imagination, you've come up with the idea that I am God. Now, let's put it into practice. Can we put the idea of us being God into practice? There's a whole New Age idea of that you can manifest what you want, right? Or somebody teaches you how to manifest what you want. This idea is so stupid because the person who's teaching you to manifest what you want, he himself can't do that. He himself is a guy who has to sit on the side of the street and advertise him teaching you manifestation. If he's such a great manifester, then why isn't he some big guy on TV who already has so many millions of followers? The idea of that I am God. This is actually the main disease of the soul. This is the real ignorance of the soul, that I am God. But he doesn't understand what it means to, what is God. It's described here that his knowledge, unlimited riches, unlimited strength, unlimited fame, unlimited beauty and renunciation. This is the nature of God, that he's unlimitedly beautiful, unlimitedly full of knowledge. He's unlimitedly, he has unlimited fame, beauty. Who can claim these things? Who can claim so-called philosophers that claim, oh, actually we're all God, you, me, all of us. But that same God, he has a toothache and he has to go to the dentist. And that same God who has a toothache, who has to go to the dentist, he can't afford his dentist payments. So he has to get it on, what is that? You have to pay it off by little. Installments. You get the same God has to pay it off in installments. The same God who claims to be the all-independent, full of power, he can't control when he has to go to the bathroom. What is the use of such a God? Is that really God? We're all God. Right? If I sat here up here and said, you're all God, I'm God, you're all God, I hope you would think that I'm a lunatic. I hope you would think that. I hope that you wouldn't agree with me and throw a tomato at me or whatever you have in your possession at me. You can throw your phone at me, you can throw a punch at me, whatever you like. Your shoes?
Dirty socks.
3 socks? 3 socks? Sure. You can throw 3 socks at me. I don't know why you have 3 socks, but... So, one who claims to be God, this is actually called insanity. When one is crazy, he claims things that he's not. Just like if there's if you go down Sylvan Road, there's a lot of homeless people that walk up and down this road. The guy's standing there and screaming, I'm the president of USA. Will anybody believe him? Who will believe him? Huh? Himself, right? But that's as far as it goes. But he lives on the side of the street. He owns, practically the president's saying, he owns the whole United States of America. But he can't, but the person on the side who claiming to be, he doesn't even have a place to live. Same idea. One who claims to be God, but he's not at all independent. So here we see the definition of God, what it means to be God, is that one is completely independent and also omniscient. He knows what's happening anytime, any place, any circumstances. We barely know what's going on within our own body. Sometimes your right eye starts twitching for like 3 days straight. You don't know what the heck happened. You have no idea. It's your eye. It's your own eye. You don't know what happened. But you claim to be God, the all-knowing being. What kind of delusion? So this is the ignorance that covers the knowledge of the conditioned soul when his desires are not in line with his nature. So we say he's always satisfied. The Supreme Lord, he's always satisfied, undisturbed by sinful or pious activities. He does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desires to be put into certain conditions of life, and thereby his chain of actions and reactions begin. So often the thing is, if somebody does believe in God, if there's no proper knowledge, like, why did God do this to me? Or the atheists, you could say, if there is God, then why can't he just take away all the suffering? Right? That's a great question, right? It's generally a philosophical question. If there is God, then why does he want to see everyone suffer? Why does he want to see everyone suffer? Can anybody answer this question? Why does God, the supreme most being and living entity, who is meant to be the friend of all, he wants all the living entities in this world to undergo pain and suffering? Why? Why can't he just flick his finger and just fix it all? Why? What do you have? What's you?
I know why. Because before we came into the earth.
Okay, we're suffering. All of us are suffering in some way. Some of us are suffering mentally. Some of us are suffering physically. Or some of us are being, we're experiencing suffering from the weather. Some of us can't tolerate cold. Some of us can't tolerate heat. And the weather is never perfect. Maybe one day it's really perfect, but you have some problem. You have diarrhea and you have to stay inside all day. So why doesn't God just take away all these problems? Because if you did, then you'd forget. Then you won't need, right? You don't need God. Who's God? I'm the controller of everything. That's how these people who have all the money, who have so-called no problems, who have all the money, have really beautiful bodies, can sing really nicely, get all the women, all these things, they have a decent situation. But you see their consciousness, they're completely atheistic, completely against the whole idea of who is God, and the inquiry, the inquisitive nature of the soul is completely covered by ignorance. The ignorance that this body is all in all. That I am the master and I can control everything. I have control over everything. So this is the core problem of the conditioned soul. Like it's saying here, that embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. By nature, the spirit soul is full of knowledge, full of bliss, and is eternal. How do we know this? Well, these are the three things that are kind of present in any conditioned soul also. Any living entity that you see, whether it's a tree, whether it's an animal, or whether it's whatever, human being, a fish, whatever it may be, it has these three desires: to know, to want knowledge, to want happiness, and to not die. So this is actually the nature of the spirit soul. This is actually the real nature of the soul, but it's exhibited in some form with the material body. So we want all knowledge. We want all knowledge. Actually, we have pure knowledge as a soul. But just like when the sun is there, right? The sun is very bright and is full of light, and it illuminates. But when a cloud goes over it, then it may become dark. It's like I was driving somewhere. I was driving from Miami up, and all of a sudden it's just like got completely dark, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. It's like middle of the day. It was like 12 o'clock in the day, but everything went completely dark. Now the sun, which is fully illuminating, is covered by a cloud. Does that mean the sun is no longer there? It's no longer pure? Does it mean it's completely impure? No, it's just become covered for some time. Right? That section of earth is become covered. So the jiva, the living entity, is minute. It's very small. So it's subjected to becoming covered. Whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all pervasive. There's no question of him becoming covered by ignorance. Therefore it says here that he assumes nor does the Lord, Supreme Lord, assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. he doesn't take them on. He's fully liberated at every stage. There's no question of conditioning for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no question of it. Just like, people, the philosophy that people use in order to justify us being God, it's like, how are you God? Why can't you exhibit these things? They say, oh, it's my lila, which means it's what I want to do. I want to do this. I want to have a toothache. I want to go to the hospital and not be able to pay a bill. I want to know what that experience is like. That's fool number one. Okay, all right, you want to experience that, but then at least show how you're God. At least, okay, all right, you're God, so at least manifest a small gold coin. Small gold coin. But otherwise, why should I believe you? Why should I blindly follow you? So, the Supreme Lord, he does not take on anyone's sinful or pious activities. He simply allows them, like he's stating here, that he does not create a particular situation for a living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desires to put into certain condition of life, and thereby his chain of actions and reactions begin. The point being made here is that you are responsible for your own problems. Nobody else. Whatever your problems is, whether somebody else is, causing you some problems, or the nature is causing you some problems, or your own body and mind are causing you some problems, you are the cause. You are the person that's created that. Because of certain desires. Just like a son, he may live in the house of his father. He doesn't have to work. The father pays everything. Everything is nice. But with the desire, he has so much desire to earn so much money and go out and be independent. And so he may go out and try to be independent in his life. And he can do that. He has the freedom to do that. The father may advise, don't do it. Because you have a stable situation here. Why do you have to go and try to do your own thing? And so he may go out. And so then he goes out and then he finds out that he has to work and he has to pay so much bills and he has to maintain so many different things. He has to keep up with so many different things that he thought he would have more time to be free, but now his time is more spent on paying bills. So he has to suffer and enjoy his actions and reactions. Or just like someone may go to jail. He may go to jail and he may be insane guy. So he forgets that what he did. So in jail he suffers a lot because like, oh, why am I in here? I'm an innocent guy, I'm an innocent person. He did this to me, it was this guy that did it, it wasn't me. Or just like another example, like when someone, let's say you have like a really expensive phone and somebody comes along and breaks it. It's really frustrating. You're like thinking about it, this guy is ridiculous, you break your relationship with him, you have a big argument with him. But if you break your own phone, it's like, dang, okay, I did it. It's like, okay, I did it, I have to deal with it. When one accepts this fact that actually I am the cause of my own problems, one actually learns to deal with them. As long as one points the problem towards everything else but oneself, he'll always be frustrated in life. He'll always suffer. There's no doubt about it. So the tendency of the living entity is very selfish by nature because of the conditioning that's there. So it is always looking for someone to blame. Someone to blame. Who's to blame? Who's to blame? Who's to blame? Like I was driving one day one of these cars and I forgot to switch on the indicator and I just went. And then another car was coming in and luckily I saw it in time and I got out of the way. But as soon as I saw that there was going to be an accident, my mind was like, how am I going to blame that guy? How am I going to make it his fault? How am I going to try to justify that it wasn't me that was the problem here? So the conditioned soul, he always wants to justify his actions, his chain of actions and reactions. Why is God doing this to me? No, God didn't do this to you. You did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. You desired a particular situation. Just like I was saying, that son may go out of the house thinking, oh, it's going to be so wonderful. So wonderful how life is going to be so amazing. But he has to go out and work like a dog, like 15 hours a day at $8 an hour. So then he blames the father. How can you didn't tell me to not go? Why didn't you stop me even if I wanted to go? You wanted to go. Why are you blaming me? So the conditioned soul's nature, because he's covered by ignorance, his real knowledge is covered by ignorance. He's put into certain conditions of life, and his actions begin. But a living entity is by superior nature full of knowledge. Nevertheless, he's prone to be influenced by ignorance due to his limited power. The Lord is omnipotent, but the living entity is not. The Lord is Bhibu, or omniscient, but the living entity is Anu, or atomic. Because he's a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. You have the capacity to desire what you want to do, that's fine. But you must be responsible for your actions and reactions. And those actions and reactions, you must understand, is not limited within this lifetime. It's not that. That's why why do bad things happen to good people? Why do bad things happen to good people? Karma. But he did, but he did a good thing his whole life. He did a good thing his whole life, so why should he get something bad? Right? From the beginning of his kid, he was a nice guy. He was a sweet guy. He took care of everyone. He didn't hurt anyone. So why does he deserve to suffer? Why is it that this guy, he was very charitable? He gave away so much money. But at the age of 25, he had got into a car crash and his legs were gone. Why does he deserve it? It's bewildering, isn't it? Karma, do good, get good back, right? He's done good most of his life. Maybe he stepped on an ant or so, but does he really deserve to get his legs cut off for stepping on an ant or so? Can we understand this without the knowledge of what we see in the Bhagavad Gita? What is beyond this body? What is beyond just this lifetime? No, you'll be bewildered. Covered by ignorance. We won't be able to see. We don't have the ability to see how that these reactions and actions and reactions that are coming are not just limited within this body from being born to dying, but is actually is dependent on so many other lifetimes. This body, or the soul is traveling through so many different bodies already. This body is just another vehicle, which is getting what it deserves, according to the desires we have, to the activities that we've performed in our lives previous to this. So this person who seemingly doesn't, is a very good person, unfortunately in his last lifetime, did so many things that were not so nice. So he has to suffer for that. You can't get away. You can't get away. Nobody can escape. Nobody can escape the laws of karma. Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita. That that this nature, this material nature, is very strong. It is very, very difficult to overcome. It's impossible to overcome for the living entity, practically speaking, on his own endeavor. So, if we can't see past just this body itself, we'll be very bewildered. And we'll we blame it on everyone else. And when there's nobody to blame, it's God. Then everyone believes in God. Why did God do this to me? What's wrong with God? Then I won't believe in anymore, forget him. Not understanding different laws that are there. You may be able to get away from the laws of the government, but you won't be able to get away from the law of God. That is there. So, because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for those actions and reactions of a particular situation, which may be desired. Being in a bewildered condition, therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with the circumstantial material body and becomes subjected to temporary misery and happiness of life. So we identify I'm this black body, I'm this white body. I belong to America. I belong to this part of the country, this part of the world. Is it being in a bewildered condition? Therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with a circumstantial material body. He has lost, you can't say lost, but he has become covered. Just like we were saying, just like the cloud covers the sun. He has lost his true identity, and therefore he starts to misidentify with the circumstantial material body. So he's born in a black body or a white body or a brown body, and he takes those identifications on the community, home, family, and then because of that identification, he has to suffer. He has to suffer. His country may undergo so much turmoil. So he'll suffer, maybe in his mind that my country is going through so many difficult times. His own body will go through so much suffering. His own mind will go through so much suffering, or happiness, whichever. And so this temporary misery and happiness of life, this is a consistent thing that goes on. And they come and go, misery and happiness, misery and happiness. You won't look for misery, but they will come anyways. You won't look for happiness, it'll actually, believe it or not, it will come anyways. Just like I saw this homeless guy, he lives under some bridge. The guy chills out. He's lying on his back, he's got his nice bed. He lives a better lifestyle than most of the people that work, 9 to 5, or in the big buildings in New York. He does. Why? Because he ain't got to do nothing. He had a phone and a charger that was plugged up to a socket. I was like, what? Oh my God. I pull up in my car and we got a bunch of food and the guy's just relaxing, having a good time. And we drop off some food, he grabs it, he eats it, goes back to sleep, finished. But he's homeless. He doesn't work a job, he doesn't have anything. But his karma is that he deserves a level of happiness in his life. He deserves a level of satisfaction because due to his past activities. So he gets that. But still his condition doesn't mean it's a good position in life. It's actually whether one is happy in his material existence or his miserable in his material existence, both are undesirable. Why? Because they perpetuate this misery and happiness, misery and happiness. In one life you're happy, in the next you're sad. Next life is miserable. One life is happy and miserable, next life is full of miseries. So the conditioned soul, it travels through body after body, creating more actions and reactions, and actually starts to get really complicated. It's not just the idea of karma. It's like you do good and you get good back. But it's actually one plants the seed of sinful desires or sinful activities or pious activities, good activities, and then that starts to fructify. And then there's a stage which is not manifested yet. And then there's a stage which is becoming manifested. And then there's stages which are just manifested and gone already. And it becomes really complicated because it is a sum of many different bodies that one has performed all these activities. So he consistently undergoes misery and happiness, and he identifies with this. And he says that the Lord is the constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma, or the super soul. And therefore he can understand the desire of the living soul, and he can smell, as one can smell the flavor of a flower by being near it, desire in a subtle form of conditioning for the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hirdayarjuna tishtati Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudrani maya. So within the heart of the living entity, where the soul resides, where the soul is, along with him, the super soul is there. Otherwise, how will the soul be able to fulfill his desires that he has? He desires, but who is there to fulfill that desire? Like at the end of life, we have so many desires. So many desires that I want to be this, I want to be that. And the soul is not subject to death with the body. Just like within this lifetime, you can experience yourself. How the body is changing from your boyhood to youth to, to manhood to old age. The body is consistently changing, but we as persons remain the same. We as a person, who we are, we can identify all those changes. So it is the soul or the person is different from the body. So at the end of life, the soul has to continue. It doesn't come to end with the body. It doesn't end with the body. So where does he go? Who decides where he goes? This is another question, philosophical question that comes up. Who decides where he goes? Because like we were discussing, the soul is not all powerful, the minute soul. Because if you did say, oh, the soul gets to decide where it goes, most of us wouldn't want to be in the situation that we're in. If you were the decider of where I went next, that means you got the chance to decide last life too, right? But this is a desirable position for most of us. It's not a desirable position. So who is deciding? Who is the person that is arranging everything in such a way so that we get what we deserve? Like it's Prabhupada saying here, that the Lord fulfills his desires he deserves. There's a super soul situated within the heart who understands all your desires. And he fulfills those desires according to your bank account, you could say, in one sense. Just like you can't go a Ferrari if you have only $2,000 in your bank account. But you can probably get a broken down 2000 Honda. Still getting a car to some level, same enjoyment. But you don't have the credit to fulfill that desire in the way that you want to. But you still can to some extent. You can still ride in a car. So some people at the end of life, their desires are not, they still have so many wild desires. Like some want to have sex so many times. So okay, according to the credit you have, you can either become a monkey or a pigeon
or a rabbit.
A rabbit that has a lot of sex too.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. I'm getting to learn a lot of animals that have a lot of sex. Because we were talking about the animal forms of life. Ducks. I didn't know ducks.
Whales?
No.
I don't know that.
Yes.
I don't think whales. I don't know about whales. So man proposes, God disposes. Why? Because God is the supreme being and we are the minute being. We are actually controlled to great extent. We don't have so much control. So the only control we have is that minute independence. So the individual is not therefore omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. Let's see here, how much time do I have? Okay. The Lord is not omnipotent the individual is not therefore omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. You can't. You can't fulfill the desire the way you want it to. It's what you deserve. So the Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desires of the minute independent living entities. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that he can attain him and be eternally happy. In such a way that one can attain to him and be eternally happy. The Vedic hymns therefore declare, the Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so that he may go to hell. So according to your desire, he's supplying. He is not partial. He's not partial. He's not partial to anyone. And he doesn't favor or disfavor. It's okay. This is what you want. But you're going to have to suffer the results of what you do. I'm going to give you what you want, but you deal with the results. But Prabhupada is making the point here that when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that he can attain him and be eternally happy. Because that is the position of the condition, the soul is that its eternal position. That is what it's meant by it's full of knowledge. It's not that it knows everything and anything. That, again, it comes back to the idea that we're all God. That's not the point. The all knowledge means one knows everything about what his position is in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is all knowledge. Because there's nothing more to be known past this. There's nothing to be known past this. Because one becomes completely satisfied. Because the goal of knowledge is to become satisfied. Is to become fulfilled. Is to understand what is truth. So the spirit soul, by nature, he is full in his knowledge of who he is. But we have no idea. Our identities change according to the association that we're in, according to place, time, circumstance. We consistently identify with different societies, different groups, different communities. There's no, or different ideologies, different philosophies. But here we're talking about the eternal nature of the soul, who becomes completely satisfied by this knowledge. That he is an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the only point to be understood. So when one naturally desires that higher platform of life, Krishna consciousness, instead of material consciousness, to consistently search after that which is temporary, that which is temporary fulfilling, that which is completely centered around me, myself, and I, he starts to redirect that same desire towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by doing this, he's able to, again, come in touch with his original position. He comes back in touch with his original position. So this desire, the super soul, when one has this desire to know what is truth, who am I? Am I this body? Am I this mind? Am I this intelligence? What is my position? When he is sincere, when he is really wanting to know, not just some fluff, when he's actually inquisitive, the super soul guides the living entity into a situation that he desires. That desire to know his original position, who he is. Now, Prabhupada says that he takes special care. So the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes to those who desire to again come to their original positions. It's like naturally a father wants to help his child when he wants to do good again. If your son is a criminal, but if he wants to do good, even if that slight indication is there, you're immediately jumping on it. Because why? Because love is there. Love is not a one-way street. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is waiting for that. He is looking for that opportunity. When the living entity, which has been traveling in this material world for so many millions of years, and finally, those so many different desires you've fulfilled. You've done everything. You've done it all. You've been a cat, you've been a dog, you've been a hog, you've been a superstar, you've been a president, you've done it all. So many desires, but you've never been happy. Even within our lifetime, we can experience that. Yes, I went to university. Yes, I got a job. Yes, I earned so much money, but I still didn't become happy. Why? Because of this point. The desire of the living entity is covered by this ignorance. We don't know what is pure desire. We don't know what is real desire. It's not that desire should be cut out. Sometimes that's the philosophy. Your desire is causing you pain, so kill all desire. What does that mean? Basically commit suicide. Kill desire means kill something with that desire is dead. This thing doesn't have any desire. Why? Because it's dead. But I'm a living entity, I have desire. The desire is only causing us pain because they're not directed in the proper place. So that proper place is in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the proper place of desire. That is actually the only thing to be desired. Because that's the original nature of the soul. There's nothing beyond that for the soul actually. Anything outside of that for the soul causes him a great level of suffering. Because he's in an awkward position of life. He's an eternal living, the soul is an eternal living entity. But he's having to go under so many temporary situations. You can imagine how traumatizing that can be. That you have one particular nature, but you're forced to take on and identify with this completely opposite nature. It's like we can even experience that. We may be not an organized person. We have nature not to be organized, but then we get put into a position where you have to be extremely organized. You'll go crazy. You won't be able to do it. It's just an awkward position. So it's an awkward position for the soul. So when one comes back in that, when he inquires, that's the point of human life, is to inquire about these things, not forget about them, not overlook them, not put them under the carpet, as you're taught in school. Accept Darwin's theory, yes, okay. What is the test question? Yes. Is Darwin's theory true? Yes, sir. Because otherwise you fail. But actually to ask these intelligent questions, what is the point of life? What is this body? What is this mind? What is this intelligence? Who am I? Am I this body? Am I this mind? Am I this? And then when we come to the platform of realization that I am the soul, the observer of all these changes, then what is my position as a soul? What is that position? So that is the real goal of human life, is to inquire about that position. This is the only form of life which one can actually do that. So, Prabhupada comments here that therefore the embodied soul, by his immemorial desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, causes his own bewilderment. Consequently, although he is constitutionally eternal, blissful, and cognizant, due to the littleness of his existence, he forgets his constitutional position of service to the Lord and is entrapped by nations. And under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditioned existence. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this. The Lord neither hates nor likes, although he appears to. I commented on some of those things. So this is the position of the living entity, that he should come to this level of inquiry, not blame everything on God, for his conditional existence. He should realize that he's the cause of his problems, and he should start to inquire about what is this nature that I have? Who am I as a soul? What is my relationship with? Because I come from somewhere, just like somebody is born into this world, and if he's left in the middle of, some middle of Atlanta, he probably will, naturally an intelligent living entity asks, okay, who's my father? Who's my mother? Where do I belong? What community do I belong to? Identification is always there. But the problem is, what do we identify with? It is temporary condition or our eternal condition. So when we realize that we are eternal beings, then we have to start to inquire about what is our eternal relationship? What is our eternal desire? What is our desire? What is that desire which will give us fulfillment? And so that is being explained here as the verses progress. So when one comes to this standard of knowledge, he'll no longer have to suffer the reactions of birth and death. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam shanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashami masuchaha. You surrender unto me, I shall take care of all your sinful reactions. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Me and you, Arjuna. He separates the two, not that we are both the same. So I shall liberate you. So when one comes to this position where he gives up his ideas of that, I am this body, this is my community, this is my home, and he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he becomes free from the reactions and the reactions of life. He becomes Pandita Samadarshana, he becomes stable. He starts to experience this, what is this verse? That Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakankshati Samasarvesu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Lavate Param. He starts to experience, because he's always fixed in the Param, in the ultimate goal of life. Mad Bhaktim Lavate Param. He has devotion. He attains devotion service, that which is the topmost thing. So this surrender doesn't mean, one has to become a monk and do all these things, become a monk or leave everything and go to the forest. But it simply means one redirects his activities towards the Lord. Just like you can see, we're singing, we're dancing, we're going to be honoring a huge feast soon. So, we're eating, we're singing, we're dancing, we're speaking, also you're hearing. Same thing everybody else does, right? Everybody likes to dance, everybody likes to eat, everybody likes to sing. This process is a very blissful process. Susukam kartam abhyayam. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. How does that verse start? Sorry. Rajavidya rajaguhyam pavitram idamuttamam pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam susukam kartam abhyayam. This is the secret of all secrets, the king of all knowledge. So by studying this and understanding this practically and applying it, one can become liberated. One can get liberated within this lifetime. I think Prabhupada said within 1 second. How do we do that? We simply redirect our activities. Instead of just singing about the desires you have in the material world, about everything you hear about on the radio, sex, money, cars, women, some idea of love. We simply listen to about Krishna and glorifications of God. What is his nature? What is our relationship with him? What is that love? We dance and chant in relation with him. It's like we're singing his name instead of chanting and dancing. The food that you're eating is being offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead within a loving attitude. So the same activity just needs to be redirected. And it's very simple, very simple. Right? Simple for the simple. It's not very difficult. You don't have to go into the forest and sit down with a straight back and meditate for thousands of years. This is not possible for anyone. We're saying simply come, chant, dance, and honor this amazing food. Krishna Prasadam, that which has been honored by Krishna. Simply by doing that, the ignorance that covers this knowledge of the soul will be shed off. And that light, that the soul who is full of knowledge will become prominent. And we'll come to this platform of real spiritual life, a real understanding of what spiritual life is. Not some bogus understanding, you're God, I'm God, we're all God, energy and all this bogus stuff. One understand the energy, one understand the energetic, how they're persons, how we're persons, how we have that relationship. This is the desired position for a living entity. So if we can desire in that way, then we'll actually always remain satisfied. Because you're back in your original position. And that satisfaction starts with chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Like the one you'll see up here. This is the process of this age. This is the process by which one ascends to the spiritual platform. You have so many processes. You have the process of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, Dhyana yoga, Jnana yoga, all these things. And they were practiced in the past, in different times. But this is the process of the age. Different disease, different medicine. So this is the medicine by which we can cure this disease of the soul. Disease of that you can't, disease that we're taking on. The ignorance that we're taking on. So everyone, we're simply requesting everyone to come and chant, dance, and take a lot of food, eat up to your neck. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. Any questions? Okay, Ramdas.
You were saying that we're not in charge of where we end up.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that, due to our activity, due to what it is that we do, we end up in a particular place because of that.
Yeah, but you don't. I explained that you don't get exactly what you want. You get what you deserve. You may get that same, like I was saying, you may want a Ferrari, but you ain't got $200,000. You got $2,000. 450,000.
Yeah.
So, but you desire a car. You desire a car, but you can only get a Honda Civic. It goes fast too. You don't have the credit. Like I was saying that you want, if you chose to be in a particular position, you may desire it. You can desire it, and you get something similar, but according to what you deserve. Like somebody, like we were saying, not everybody desired to be in the position we're in now. Everybody desired a better position, but we're getting what we deserve in different forms. You desire to eat a lot of meat, yeah, okay. You may become a tiger, or you may become a jackal.
Yeah, but that desire doesn't depend on your next birth or exactly. I mean, you have to work up to that credit to actually enjoy or punish. So it's not
Right,
like
so
just because I desire something right now is by my will that desire is going to come true. Like, it does take time depending on your consciousness and your work. This is what I was trying to understand. I'm not trying to.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, so according to your credit you have, right? That's like exactly what you're saying. According to the credit you have at the end of life, that's what you get. And you can have that desire, and you get it, but just in a different way, right? Different way where you might have to suffer a little bit because you don't have that credit. You may get that same level of, that same type of status, but not to the level like the jackal and a tiger. That's two different, they both eat meat, but the tiger is more ferocious and it can kind of, take charge, whereas the jackal is a little bit more, he has to be more sneaky. So both eat meat because they may desire to in the past life, but at a different levels, according to what they deserve. Yes.
Can I have a comment? Nobody got a question?
Anybody else have a question?
With the Prabhupada was making the point of the purport that according to living into his desire, that he engages him in pious or impious activities so that he may go to heaven or hell.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking there are many understandings of what heaven is and what hell is. Could you just elaborate on, what is heaven, what is hell? Is there a difference between them?
Yeah, well, it's like, let's say within this world, there's you could go to the slums of India, and it's really hellish. It's practically a hellish planet. There's no good water. You live next to a sewer. You don't have decent food at all. I'll take one too. Take one. You practically don't have, you may not have good food, there's no proper water to drink. So it's practically a hellish condition. And then you go to a place like Hawaii, the freshest water available, you can't even put into a bottle. You can't buy that anywhere in a store. You get it right off the mountain, whatever. The weather is always good. It's like a heavenly planet. But both are material situations. So the heavenly planets that we mentioning here are both material situations where one enjoys more and the other one suffers more. The hellish planet, but it's not an eternal position where you go to heaven and that's where you stay for the rest of your life, rest of eternity. No, one has to. He goes up there, spends his money's worth. You could say his credits, that is his actions and reactions, what he deserves. And then he has to come back down and then build up that credit again to try to enjoy again. So heavenly planets are still considered within the material world. So one hasn't become liberated by going to the heavenly planets. It's still just the going up and down. You know, this happiness and distress, happiness and distress. Same idea. Where there's more happiness available in heaven, there's more distress in hell, according to what you deserve.
So heaven, according to the Vedas, heaven and hell is distinguished based on the external material situation. Is that generally what you refer to?
It is the material situation. It is the external material situation.
What if someone said that one person may say, well, one person's hell may be a heaven for another person?
Sure, you can say that, but it's just ignorant. Like there's like different levels of ignorance. It's like for the pig to swim in stool is heavenly.
Yeah.
For if you do it, it's hellish. It's relative in the material world. Everything's relative. But the soul desires the eternal, absolute realm where there is full of knowledge and full of bliss, and it's not for one person and another. It's for the soul. So for different bodies, yeah, there's different pleasures according to what their body likes. But for the soul, it's that one thing, it's service to Krishna. Yes, you have a question?
I don't know the question. There are 8,400,000 different living entities, 400,000 human entities.
Mm-hmm.
And each life, in some way, can be considered a hell in itself.
A what, sorry?
Each life form
A hell.
A hell.
can be considered
Yeah.
a hell within itself.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just if one realizes what the condition of the living entity, then you know that we're actually in a prison cell. This body is like a prison cell. Then yeah, it depends on, like I said, depends on the levels of covering you have to realize what kind of situation you're in. So those when one becomes spiritually minded, he realizes he's actually in a very horrible situation. Although seemingly everything is good, you know, we have good food and we have, you know, the body is nice and you know, your mind is not disturbing you, the weather is not disturbing you, other people aren't disturbing you. Still, if you're spiritually realized, you'll understand this is not a position. This world is not a position I want to be in, and one will endeavor to get out. Those who get, you know, those who claim to be spiritual, they want to fix their body to be real nice by doing a little bit of yoga, by a little bit of breathing things, and then they consider well to be nice. That's actually higher grade of ignorance. To consider that this world is a suitable place for the living entity to reside is called deep ignorance. So if one is not coming to the platform more of being disgusted with material life, then there isn't much spiritual advancement there. Yes, you have a question?
So this is just continuing on the same train of thought. Since we are souls and entities trapped within a body, if we were to build up, say, enough credit beyond just all the life forms that we've gone through, what would it take to leave the material world and exist in solely the energy soul form of which we were sent down here to?
So you're asking the question, how do we go to the platform of spiritual existence? How do we go to the platform of being back home, back to Godhead in that realm with Krishna again? Well, this is where it goes beyond karma, right? Your activities, your good activities can't attain the transcendental realm. The activity has to be on the platform of the soul. The activities that you perform has to be on the transcendental platform to attain that. Because you're functioning in the material world, you're limited to the actions and reactions of this world. You can only go so far and go so low. So in order to transcend that, like is this being described here, one has to come back in touch with his original nature. He has to come back in touch with service to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is not considered karma. It's actually considered akarma. It's actually beyond karma. It's considered transcendental activity. And so that transcendental activity, by performing that, then when one performs, like devotional service, like we're describing, singing and dancing and chanting and studying this knowledge, then one starts to again come to that, realize his real identity. And when he becomes fully realized in that identity as a servant of Krishna, then when he becomes free of all this misidentification, then he's liberated. Even within this body. Even one may be within this body in this lifetime. But he knows, he's full of knowledge of his position. So then he's liberated. Then he's already in the spiritual realm because his consciousness has changed. He doesn't see this, he sees this material world as the energy of Krishna. He doesn't see it to be separate from that. So he has a proper vision. He attains the proper vision. And then when one is on that platform, all these karmic situations of good and bad, they're destroyed. Because if you do good, you have to get good back, so you have to come back in the next lifetime. You have to, there's no choice. But one transcends that, then he's no longer subjected to actions and reactions of this world. So he overcomes that by performing devotional service, which is on a platform beyond the material platform. It's transcendental. Does that make sense?
To me, yes.
Okay, all right. I hope everyone understood that. Anything else? Okay. Ram, yeah. Okay, sorry. I thought you. So there's a quote he's gonna send me on WhatsApp, right? You're the guy with the question marks, from Dragon Con. What is the villain called?
The Riddler.
The Riddler. He's got a lot of questions. Okay, so Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu describes this as follows: Iha yasya hare dasya karmana manasa gira nikilasva api avasthasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. A person acting in Krishna consciousness, person acting in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, in the service of Krishna, with his body, mind, intelligence, and words, is a liberated person, even within the material world. Although he may be engaged in many so-called material activities. He has no false ego, for he does not believe that he is this material body, or that he possesses this body. He knows that he is not this body, and that his body does not belong to him. He belongs to Krishna. And the body too belongs to Krishna. When he applies everything produced of the body, mind, intelligence, words, life, wealth, etc., he may have within his possession to Krishna's service, he is at once dovetailed with Krishna. So that's from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 11. So yeah, you can see that one just redirects all his, towards Krishna. He identifies himself as a servant of Krishna, that he belongs to Krishna. But this house, this family, this thing, actually this is actually Krishna, this is not mine. So when he starts to identify with that, that is his true identification. So he becomes liberated like that. Okay, so any other questions we have over here? All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of japa. This is personal meditation. Everybody's being given a bead. And so there's the head bead, which this is called the Krishna bead. We don't chant on that. So you can put to the right of that bead, you can put your thumb on the top of the first bead and in your middle finger. So very simple. And then what we're going to do is basically on one bead, we'll chant the full mantra, which is like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's one mantra. And so we're going to do 10 of those. Excuse me. We're going to do 10 of those. Let me see here, just make sure that I got. Okay. So we're going to do 10 of those. So everyone can try to concentrate on the mantra when we're chanting. Bring your mind back to the sound vibration of the mantra. So we can start all together. So 3, 2, 1. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. Thank you very much. So now I have a few announcements to make. Vishnu Chitta Prabhu, would you be able to send me the announcements? Let's see here. Okay, I have the announcements. I got it. Okay. So this program happens every Sunday, same place, same time. Please bring your family, your friends, or your enemies. Now today's feast is sponsored by Bhakti Trace. He's the guy that's there. He is. Thank you, Trace.
Thank you so much.
So morning program. So every day we have a morning program where we start at 4:30 a.m. You're welcome to come at that time. But there's there we meditate. We have like a dancing kirtan like you will in a little bit. Then we have a 2-hour period of japa, of meditation on the beats, and then we have a class starting at 7:45. So everybody is welcome to that, and there's also a breakfast. It's an ecstatic way to start your day. You're going to experience it at least once, and then you'll want to do it again. So there's also an evening program on Tuesdays for the women specifically. They can approach Mahabhoga Mataji for that. And then there's also and then every day, like I said, everyone can come to the programs in the mornings. Other than that, please, the food that we've been cooking, the cooks have been cooking since yesterday actually, and all day today too. So they've been working very hard. Please don't waste any of the food. Take a to-go container with you, take it home with you. And this is one of the greatest sins. US is number one in food wastage, so let's not be a part of the problem, let's be a part of the solution. And so please do not serve yourselves, we're here to serve you. So anything you need, there will always be someone out there to give you what you want. And somebody will also come around to serve you also. Please do not sit on the stage. This is a sacred space, and this little, I guess, what do we call this? Podium. Little podium that's there. Please do not sit or stand or play with this thing at all. Now, other than that, and also the instruments, they're all very fragile. Please do not play with those. We need volunteers to help clean. So if you would like to help clean, you can approach Abhimanyu, Sutta Prabhu over there. And if the women would like to help clean, they can approach Mahabhoga Mataji, who is right there also. So I think that's it. If you by doing these things, you can actually experience what it is to perform devotional service. This is what we're talking about, and what the goal of understanding all these things is to actually come to this platform of performing this service. And we also have a very special announcement, which is if you didn't hear anything in the class and you didn't like anything, you like those books, you can take them with you, take them home with you. It's the greatest opportunity. Every gentleman and gentlewoman should have those books in their homes. So please approach you can approach Mohotsa Prabhu for the books. Please take them home with you today. And another special announcement is that on the 6th of March, there is a huge festival. It's actually a new year for us. And so it's a full moon that day, right? It's the full moon that day, so we're going to be celebrating a new year. So you can come and be a part of that. It's going to start at 5:30 p.m. on Monday. So please, everyone is welcome to come. There is flyers. March 6th, I said that. That's the first thing.
Not Monday. March 6th.
Monday, March 6th.
Not this Monday.
No, I said that. March 6th. Monday, March 6th. Okay, not next. You can check these flyers. There's more information up there. Please text us. And you can register, or you can tell one of us so we can put you down. But please come to this festival. It's a very, very special festival. You'll feel a lot of ecstasy and bliss in participating in this festival. Other than that, I think the beads, you're welcome to keep them. People just ask for a small donation. If not, somebody is going to be coming around and collecting them. So other than that, I think that's everything to announce. So now we're going to stand up and sing and dance. So please, everyone can stand up and roll up the mats, put them in that corner, and everyone can please dance and sing loudly. Okay, Vivan?
And also you forgot to say.
Huh?
You forgot to say
Whoever dances the best gets the garlands, the flowers that are up there.
What's up, man? Good, man.
He's not hardly any of the people know about
What's it going, man? What's your name? I know a song called
Sadhu step.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dancing parents on now. Everybody please step in the middle.
Like be a little louder. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please all gather in the middle. We're going to sing and dance.
Everybody please.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
You ask, don't like me what like you
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare,
जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य श्रोत्र श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य श्रोत्र श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत गोस्वामी ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की श्री वृंदावन धाम की नवद्वीप महाकुद धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी की गंगा मई की यमुना मई की भक्ति देवी की तुलसी देवी की समवेता भक्त वृंद की take the world which your Prabhupada's translated book distribution all gracious assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Prabhupada.
All glories to the Prabhupada.
Namah Vishnupada. Hare Krishna, thank you everyone. If you please line up and eat as much as possible, take a break and eat some more. Hare Krishna.
You came to the college program, right? Yeah. I remember the walkie-talkie. You're gonna collect all the flowers? You're gonna do a great service. You're gonna keep
Giovanni, go now.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Whatever.
Behind the phone. Turn it off.
Where?